So last session we have seen how the resource allocation graph is drawn for the processes and resources. So today we are going to see what are the methods for handling deadlocks. So there are three methods. So first one is deadlock prevention, second one is deadlock avoidance, third one is deadlock detection. Uh, so first we're going to see what deadlock prevention means. So deadlock prevention, uh, in this case, uh, the deadlock occurs whenever these four cases are satisfied simultaneously in any of the system model, what we have discussed in the previous session. So in deadlock prevention, what we are trying to do is we make some protocols or algorithms where any one of the condition becomes false, or we can prevent the deadlock by not satisfying the necessary condition of deadlock, any one of the condition. So mutual exclusion, or hold and wait, no preemption, or circular wait. So how we can do is, uh, the mutual exclusion is not necessarily guarantee us, if you don't satisfy that mutual exclusion, it does not guarantee us that we can avoid a deadlock. So basically we'll go with the necessary conditions from hold and wait. Okay, so mutual exclusion is not required for shareable resources, and it must not hold for non-shareable resources. Then what does that mean? It must hold for a non-shareable means whenever a process is not sharing a resource of its, then obviously it is mutually exclusive resource, because that resource is always available with that process only, it is not shared. And whenever there is a shareable resource, so what we have discussed in process synchronization, the OS itself gives us a principle that a mutex or a lock, so that the resources are allocated for only one process at a time. So hence, you cannot dissatisfy the mutual exclusion, uh, the condition. So actually we'll go with hold and wait. So what hold and wait means? Hold and wait, how we can not satisfy that condition. So there can be two things what we can do. So it must guarantee that whenever a process requests a new resource, so it does not hold any other resources. Okay, so we'll see with the example. Then whenever a process requests a resource, it should be allocated before its uh, execution begins. Okay, so whenever the process is executing, it cannot ask a resource. Even though it requests a resource, it should not hold that previously allocated resource. It should, what it do is, it should leave that resource and take the new resource. So the hold and wait principle should not satisfy. So it is not holding and waiting. Okay, if it holds and if it is waiting, what we can do is we can preempt. That is what the third one. So no preemption. So since our deadlock is telling we cannot preempt the process, so what we can do is we can incorporate any protocol such that a process can be preempted. Okay, so how we can do, if a process that is holding any resource and request other resources, and it cannot be given immediately. Okay, so resource that process is preempted, so that all its allocated resources are released. So there is a one protocol, what we can do is, the the process which is holding a resource and it is requesting any other resources, such a process is preempted, means it is taken from the model, so that the resources which are allocated for that is released. So that is the first one. So that preempted resources, they are added to your uh, available resource, so that whichever other process, it can take that resource and it can execute. Then what happened to that preempted process? So preempted process will come back again, so the process will be restarted, so that it will regain all its old resources as well as new ones what it was requesting earlier. So uh, uh, we can preempt this. So the deadlock is telling you cannot preempt, no preemption, but we will make it a reverse case so that we can preempt a resource so that the condition is not satisfied. Hence, we are avoiding or preventing a deadlock. The third one is, fourth one is circular wait. So circular wait where we will impose a ordering of resources. So what ordering? So we will give a numerical enumerations, numerical number for any of the resource so that we will have an algorithm such that how the requests will be, how the resources will be given to the process which is requesting that resource. So we'll see these uh, things with an example. Okay, so we'll take that same system model where deadlock has occurred, then how we can prevent a deadlock by using these deadlock prevention techniques. The first one is we'll take the same example where we have seen the deadlock has occurred in this uh, system model which has given. So first one is mutual exclusion. How we can dissatisfy the mutual exclusion? So we cannot guarantee here because the resource 1, 2 and 3 they are shared resources. So mutual exclusion is one where uh, the moment the operating system is incorporated such that the resource 1 is using a locking system such that only one process is executing that resource, no other process. So whenever there is a shareable resource, the lock is used. So mutual exclusion is already exist, so we cannot dissatisfy this. So hence we'll go with the second one, that is hold and wait. So in hold and wait, the process 1 is requesting resource R1, but it should not be allocated since it is holding R2. So what we have done is here uh, the process 1 is actually allocated R2 and requesting R1. So it is holding some resource and waiting for R1 to get it. So what we will do is with respect to process 1, R1, R2 is deallocated. Okay, so if R2 is deallocated, so process 1 is taken out. So process 3 can get that resource and executes and release R3. So with respect to process 2 also it holds good. So process 2 holds R1 and R2 and requesting R3 and it should not be granted. Process 3 it holds R3 and requesting resource R2 and cannot be granted. So they are in hold and wait. So if we can break any of the link, any one of the link, you can take either process 1, 2 or 3 and you can break that link. So I'm applying on process 1. So if you take that P1 to R1, that link is broken since P1 is taken out because it is holding and waiting. So I will deallocate the resources for process 1, that is R2 is allocated initially, so R2 is taken out. So R2 can be allocated to now process 3 and it executes. After executing, the resources are not needed, so it releases R3, which resources is allocated is R3. So that process P2 gets executed because it was waiting for R3, so resource R3 got released. So it executes. Then P1, which was earlier taken out, actually given all the resources since P2 and P3 are executed, making P1 R and R2 can be both given. Then it gets executes executes. So hence uh, we have failed hold and wait in such a way deadlock is prevented. Okay. So with respect to hold and wait, we have made that condition false. Then what happens if mutual exclusion and hold and wait we cannot dissatisfy those two conditions? Then we have to go with the third condition. Whether can I make that third condition at least not hold that condition? So how we can make that? So for that, we will take the third condition, means assuming that mutual exclusion and hold and wait are actually satisfied. We are not able to dissatisfy that condition. Okay, so we are going with third condition, whether I can do no preemption. Okay, so to fail this condition, we need to preempt the processes. That's it. So how we can preempt the process? So already we have given a method where if a process that is holding a request, then it requests another resource, then it cannot be immediately given. Okay, so for that, if process P1 is holding R2 and requesting resource R1, then we can preempt P1. Okay, so we can preempt a P1. So if you see, we can preempt a P1, and this link is broken where it is requesting, and R2 is now available, and add R2 as available resource. So if R2 is available, then if R2 is available, then P3 gets executes, releasing the R3 resource R3. Then since R3 is available, P2 gets executed. So the hold and wait and no preemption are one another the same. They are making us the same scenarios in most of the cases. Okay, so the moment P2 and P3 are executed, what happens to P1? When P1 begins now, because we have preempted the process P1 for a small amount of time, when P1 comes back for execution, so all the resources now made available, so its requested resources are given, so we can prevent deadlock. So if the second condition, first and second are not able to dissatisfy, we can use these protocol where I can dissatisfy no preemption. Okay, so going forward with the fourth condition, how the circular weight is dissatisfied. So circular weight is dissatisfied by using total ordering. So impose total ordering of on all the resource types. So what do you mean by total ordering? So we will give a numerical numbers such that whenever process request a resource, okay, so it should be in increasing order of enumeration. So what does that mean? So for any resource, for example, I will give resource 1 as 1, resource 2 as 3, and resource as 5. So you can give any number. So we are just given a ordering for these resources. So whenever this is the condition, how it should be allocated. So whenever a process holds Ri and requests Rj, then that resource Rj is allocated to process. Okay, if and only if the f of Rj should be greater than Ri. Okay, so it should be in increasing order. Okay, that way you can give resource for that process, otherwise it is not allocated. So if it is not allocated, then then there won't be any circular weight, since it follows the circular weight where P1 depends on P2, P2 depends on P3, and P3 is again dependent on P1 and P2. So we have to break that. Okay, the circular weight has to be broken. So if you see that how the request should be granted now. So P1 holds R2, then it requests R1. So Rj is now R1, Rj. Then Ri is, which is already it is holding. Okay, so holding which one? R2. Okay, so f of R1, because requesting is Rj. So Rj is nothing but f of R1. That is what it is requested. F of R1 is greater than f of R2. So that is 1. So we imposed 1 is greater than 3. No. No means I cannot grant a process 1 this uh, resource. So I cannot be granted. I can grant it. Okay. Even though it is available, I cannot grant. Okay. So process 2, it holds R1 and R2 and requesting R3. So what we will do is f of R3 is greater than f of R1. So that is what we have taken. 5 is greater than 1. Yes. Then R3. 5 is greater than 3. Yes. Okay. So you can grant this process whenever, sorry, these resources whenever those becomes available. Okay, so we can allocate for process 2. So process 3, it holds R3 and requesting R2, then f of R2 is greater than f of R3. 3 is greater than 5. No, so I cannot grant. So what happens is this link is broken. You can request, but it is not given. So link is broken. What happened is, for process 3 and 1, since they are holding and they are requesting the resource, so hold and wait, that second condition, if you see, that is what hold and wait. So we can preempt either one of the processes. So if you preempt either one or three, any one of the process you can choose such that that resources becomes available for remaining process. So we can allocate process 3 which holds our we can allocate such that uh, such that the circular weight is broken. So process 3 holds R3 and requesting R2. So 3 is greater than 5. No, so I cannot allocate for process 3 also. So we can allocate only process 2. So either I can preempt P1 or P3 such that the circular weight is broken. So the moment if you take the process 1 and process 3 are deallocated, the resources R3 as well as R2 becomes available. So P2 executes, after that P1 and P3 gets executed. So we can break circular weight. So you can take any system model and we can apply these conditions. So these conditions can be applied such that we should dissatisfy the condition. So we have to write protocols such that these conditions should be dissatisfied. Okay, we are not satisfying a necessary conditions of deadlock, because for any deadlock to occur these are the four necessary conditions, but these three are the must. So we need to dissatisfy any one of the condition. So we have explained with all the four conditions. Okay, if you make hold and wait dissatisfy, no need to go for third and fourth. Okay, so we are assuming the first two conditions are not these are satisfied, means we have not able to dissatisfy the conditions, then only we have moved to no preemption. So even though if it is not able to dissatisfy, again we have moved to circular weight. So your system model at least at least in these four cases it will dissatisfy one of the condition, making us to prevent a deadlock. That is what deadlock prevention algorithm. Okay, so that is what the method. Okay.